So, almost a decade on from its default, Argentina seems to be normalising relations with its creditors. I mean, we recently had a deal with the Paris Club of Creditors where Argentina finally decided to settle on $9.5 billion worth of debt. I mean, what does this actually mean? Is Argentina becoming a non-pariah state on the international markets again?
Well, look, Robin, you're here because you've written about Argentine bonds a lot, but on Next we distinguish between sort of totally insane and only slightly insane reasons to invest in Argentine bonds. And for me, the sort of slightly less insane incentive when Argentine bonds are yielding about 11%, which is quite punchy still. But I think they could go down 300, 400 basis points if they get to a deal with holdouts. And I think there's something in the Paris Club deal which suggests the holdouts have a bit more leverage still.
Why is that? One thing is agreeing a deal with the Paris Club of Creditors, bilateral countries, that suddenly unlock all sorts of export credit agency deals. But the other thing is a holdouts and these nasty hedge funds that Argentina has been railing against for the better part of a decade now.
Yeah, the Paris Club are governments, and it's interesting because you have to look at what haircut they're getting, what are they getting back. So they're getting back sort of $10 billion or so in principle. But in terms of the interest rate Argentina is paying, it's about sort of 3%, which is quite low. And the discount rate, which the Paris Club is probably using as a band of developed world governments, is probably quite close to 3% itself. So it kind of works out in terms of the net present value of Argentina's repayments. They're getting a 0% haircut, after 13 years of not being paid, but that's still pretty good. Now, the other really fun thing here is the Paris Club has this principle of comparability of treatment, which is basically a very fancy word for they get at least as good a deal as the private sector in any debt restructuring. Now, the fun thing to think about is, well, can that work the other way? If the holdouts who last got about a 15% recovery rate from Argentina in the last offer it made in 2010, can they now turn around and say, well, look, the Paris Club has got payback in full, so if we want to do a deal with you, and they've always said that that they're quite open to doing a deal, we'd happily take much less than that.
Oh, that's very kind of them. But is there any chance that Argentina will offer anything vaguely comparable to what they
Yeah,
gave
I
the
think so,
Paris
because
Club?
I think the basic impetus here is Argentina's economy is no longer strong enough to basically pay US dollar debt on its own. It can't earn enough US dollars. The country could be in a recession at this point. Well, we don't know because the data is just too crazy to even analyse. So as long as that kind of continues, they still have an incentive to regain market access. And yes, they've had a Paris Club deal. That Paris Club deal has an interesting structure, and yet, however it kind of goes from here, they are going to have to talk to holdouts at some point.
Well, it would be great if Argentina could settle with all its creditors after so long. Well, Joseph, thank you so much.